Howdy, folks. I am here with James Garrick. Did I say that right? Excellent. Yeah. James is a newly elected member on the Bicycle Network board, and tell me what were your goals? Why did you want to get on this board?
Yeah, well,
who are we representing?
I've been volunteering for Bicycle Network for a few years now, and I think Bicycle Network really should look after us, whether we're on the road or whether we're commuting or it doesn't matter where we are, riding bikes. And one thing I'm particularly keen on is getting those minimum passing distance laws in Victoria, and I really want to encourage Bicycle Network to make that the priority.
Beautiful. So he's here to help us. So it's going to happen soon. It will all happen. It's crazy we haven't got our metre and a half passing yet. All right. Today I am here to talk about pacing and bits and pieces for our Peaks Challenge. James is one of the ride leaders. You're a 9-hour ride leader. Mm-hmm. How many times have you done it?
This will be my 6th year.
And how close to that 9 hours do you get each time?
Look, there was one year where we almost miscalculated and only got in by 90 seconds, but between 8:54 and 8:57 every single time.
Yeah. So he does a pretty good job. And look, all the other wave leaders are pretty good at getting in at that bang on time as well. So now, as part of this whole training process, we're at the point where everyone's scratching their head thinking, how fast should I aim to go for the day? Mm. And we've got a few tips for you guys, as to how to go about this. So we're wave leaders. We know how fast we can get around. What if you think, right now I've got a lot of athletes who think they are safe with, say, the 10-hour group, mm-hmm. but they want to maybe aim for the 9-hour group. Is that a good idea?
Yeah.
It is the hard question.
Every year we get asked this question, and my reflection is that you're not going to do something on the day you've never done before. And in fact, it's a little bit like people you don't know coming around for dinner. Don't cook anything new.
Yeah.
So don't have different nutrition on the day to what you have before. Don't have the biggest breakfast you've ever done, and don't make a plan to do things on the bike that you've never ever done before.
Yeah.
So I think that you've got to be a bit realistic. It's better to be realistic and overachieve than to blow into 1,000 pieces and not finish.
Yeah. And look, it is, and I'll put it up now, momentarily, the watts per kilo chart that I made last year that gives you a pretty good indicator of what numbers you can do for 20 minutes, 60 minutes, 90 minutes. It'll give you an idea as to what time to aim for. But if you sort of seem to be not quite in one group and not quite the other, I think the smartest strategy to go with is to go with the safe group, like the slightly slower group. I think there's two things that can happen. You go with the slightly slower group, you have good legs at the end, and you can power on in the second half of the event and try and come in at that sort of, say sub 9 or mid 8 to 9s or whatever time it may be. The other thing that may happen is that if you go with the faster group, there'll be some remnants of the group that also can't keep up. And then, therefore, you'll have your own, let's say it's a 9.5-hour group to ride. The key thing is, though, you do not want to be on your own during this event, just charging along solo time trial, especially on which parts of the course do you reckon?
Well, so there's an attitude thing as well. So the parts of the course are Germantown to Harriettville, which is that 1%er for seems like forever.
Slow drag.
But then the second one is all the way from Dinner Plain through to Angler's Rest. Yeah. And we've had people who've left Dinner Plain a minute before us, and they've ridden on their own for 100 Ks, and they've got into Angler's Rest 5 seconds before us.
Yeah, yikes.
And the person who was behind us for all that time is in much better shape.
Yeah.
So I think having an attitude that every single person out there is your teammate is a much better attitude to have than you're competing against every single person out there. It's about the people you can bring along with you, because they're the ones who can help you.
Yeah, that's exactly right. On that, where can we save time on this course? What's your stopping times for your 9-hour group?
Yeah, it's a good question. So 2 things. First of all, when I talk about times, I talk about the time I'm going to leave my 3 stops, and I'm going to stop 3 times. I'm going to stop for 5 minutes, hopefully, at Harriettville. I'm going to stop for 15 at Dinner Plain, and I'm going to stop for 5 minutes at Angler's Rest. if it's hot, I'm going to have to stop at Omeo as well.
To get water,
right, to get water. But by publicising the departure times,
Yeah.
if you know I'm leaving somewhere at 10:25 and you get dropped, you know that as long as you get there by 10:23, you get
That's
back
a
on.
great point, actually.
So I don't talk about when I'm going to. I don't talk about when I'm going to arrive. I talk about when I'm going to leave, so that if there's a headwind, well, I'm only going to get 1 minute stop,
You get
and
a
if there's a
shorter
tailwind,
rest.
I might get 11 minutes instead.
Yeah, that's actually a good pacing strategy for anybody. You don't predict what time you're going to get to one of the stops. Predict what time, or try and have in your head when you got to leave by.
Yeah, people bust a gut to get there on time, and then
Yeah.
they sit under a tree for an hour.
Yeah,
And guess what? It's a bit of a false economy.
yeah,
So I stop for 25 minutes all up. So that's 5, 10, 5, and then
that's your 9-hour group.
Yeah.
25 minutes total.
That's-
And in comparison, our 8-hour group,
Hmm.
which is rapidly becoming the 7-hour group,
Yeah,
it seems,
yeah.
is more like, I reckon, 5 to 6 minutes is total stopping time. It's in and out.
yeah,
But
yeah.
that's what you got to do to go
I
that
think
quick.
so. From bikepacking,
Yeah.
you learn very quickly that the most important thing that the way to ride faster
Yeah.
is to know what you're doing while you're stopped before you stopped. And at Peaks Challenge, you see a lot of people get off the bike and then they stand there kind of looking around.
Yeah,
Whereas I've already thought about, well, I'm going to do 3 things at these things, and as I'm rolling in, I see the 3 places, and I find a place to put the bike, and I can go to those 3 places, and usually I'm drumming
So a
my
little
fingers.
mental rehearsal before you pull in there.
Yeah.
Have a checklist.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I've experienced that with you.
Sorry.
I was like, I've got to go to have a pee, and he's like, "Yep, you'll catch up." And he doesn't. He won't wait. Okay. I'm going to look at the computer now and see what the next one is. What else we got to go over?
Well, we've got some tips for the day.
Is that about it? Just tips for the day.
Well, there's a little bit more on some other how to go faster.
How to go faster.
Yeah.
Is that part of your tips?
No,
What was
I think where people waste time is relevant.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We'll kick off from there. Okay. So we'll go through a few tips, and but the biggest one is all about time. So how can people go faster
Mhm.
and save time somewhere? What's the keys?
Yeah. So the first one would be stopping. Don't. The second
So
one.
overall stopping time.
Now, overall stopping time, it's the
Yeah.
killer.
Yeah.
The second one is clearly having a sense of urgency throughout the ride. On the training rides that we started running about 5 years ago, we used to charge up a hill, stop and regroup, charge up a hill, stop and regroup.
Yeah.
And what we realised is that people don't have practice in keeping on going.
Yeah.
So now we ride up a hill at tempo and we keep on riding. And people get really shocked. They say, because they tend to charge up the hill and then
the
stop.
hill's not the end.
The hill's not the end. The end's
the
back
end.
at Falls Creek. It's
Yeah,
200
yeah.
kilometres away.
Yeah.
And so having that slight sense of urgency so that you don't get off the pedals when you crest the hill.
Yeah.
The other thing is if you do train with power,
Yeah.
the idea is to have the highest possible average speed for the lowest possible TSS.
So save
thinking-
those legs when
Yeah,
you can.
thinking about that is important. And the other thing that we both know is that if you're producing the same amount of power at 2 different cadences, the slower cadence is going to tire you out.
Yeah.
So if you are going to go and get a new cassette, then go and do it, I think.
Get the biggest one you can. And I keep getting asked the same question, is like, what gear should I run for the back of Falls? And it's the easiest gear you can.
Yeah. So I'm on 34-32, and I could easily go on 34-28, but
You might
my
use
legs
it.
wouldn't be in good
You-
shape.
Yeah, you
So
mightn't
what?
even end up using it. But if it's there, I guarantee you at some point you'll click and you're like, oh, that's all I've got.
Yeah.
If it's one more, you'll be happier.
Yeah.
All right. What are,
Hmm.
give me a couple of the best tips, just general tips for peaks
Yeah.
in general. Not about going fast, just
Sure.
what should we be doing?
So first of all, 1 kilogram's worth about 4 minutes. My rule of thumb is a kilogram's worth 1 minute per 1,000 metres of climbing. So
Yeah, and the science is right. Like
Yeah.
that's,
So sorry guys, but I know it was a good Christmas, but it's probably time to draw a line under it. And so 3 kilos, which that's 12 minutes. That's 12 free minutes.
yeah.
The second thing is I don't have simple sugars before Angler's Rest.
Huh.
Yeah, I make it a rule not to have.
So what would you
simple
have
sugars.
as a nutrition? What do
Oh,
you
I have loads of carbs, but I
Yeah.
don't have simple sugars.
Yeah.
You see people drinking Coke at the top
But
of
in
Taronga
what
Gap.
form are you having carbs in?
I have complex carbs. I have maltodextrin. I have
So you've got a
and
mix, but it's
and if I'm having gels, I read them and
Yeah.
I make sure that they're long chain carbohydrates, not
Yeah.
simple sugars.
just because you find it's a bit more steady burn throughout the day.
Yeah, and then when you do take the simple sugars on, you really feel it amazingly. It's a good feeling.
Alright. Even I might take that on board. I'm always just stuffing lollies in, and I do go through ups and downs. It's the experienced man here knows what he's doing.
The next thing is to, it's going to sound stupid, but hold the wheel.
Yeah.
It sounds crazy, but hold the wheel. And
the faster you're going, the more important that is.
Yeah. And especially, dinner plane to Angler's Rest. I can't help you after Angler's Rest, really.
Yeah.
I really can't. I can give you some encouragement, but I can't really help you after Angler's Rest. But geez, I can help you a lot before Angler's Rest. I'm only going to ask you to take a turn once for the whole ride, and that is between Harrietville and Germantown. And if you're ahead of me, we're going to pick you up because we're going to have a group, and my group will be 50 to 100 people.
Yeah, wow.
Right? And we used to do it wrongly, but what we do is we put 3 of our riders in the Team Bike Network throughout the roll,
Yeah.
and then 1 on the gate, because that's where it all goes wrong. It goes wrong at the
People
back,
don't
because some
slot
people
back
don't slot back in.
Yeah.
And so we roll turns all the way, and I reckon that gives us 10 minutes, and it costs each rider hardly anything to do.
It's the way to do it. It's just all about efficiency, isn't it? So
My last tip would be come on the training rides, and you won't just be able to talk to us, but you'll be able to get a good measure of where you're going, of how you're going. And the other thing is you'll meet other people who are at your pace, and you'll hopefully be able to ride with them on the day as well.
I reckon that's the most important take-home part from this whole video today is if you're scratching your head wondering about how fast you're going to be going, you've got multiple trial runs opportunities for these Bicycle Network rides we've got.
And 3.6 watts per kilo on the first hill, 3.5, 3.4 or whatever it was on the 3 hills for me. I can tell you, if you look at other people, they've done 4 watts per kilo on the first hill, 3 watts per kilo on the second hill, and 2 watts per kilo on the third hill, but you wouldn't know it because they've been walking. Yeah. So I think that learning to keep it steady is vital.
Yeah. All right. I think we've covered everything I wanted to.
Thanks.
Now, the one last thing I want to cover is I know everyone's probably got the question in their head about what's actually going on with the bushfires and things like that.
Yeah.
I just want to reassure everybody that Bicycle Network are doing their best to make sure the event's still going ahead. At this stage, it's still a bit of an unknown. There's meetings with state emergency services and things, but at this stage, I'm pretty sure, as far as I know, that we're still going to be there on the day.
Well, the
scenery will be a little different, potentially, but...
Well, look, as the chair of the Audit and Risk Committee, I can tell you that the leadership team is doing a really great job. Yeah. And we don't want to abandon those towns, but also, obviously, safety is going to come first. And Bike Network's got very good risk protocols around this, so I have every confidence in the team.
Cool. Thank you, sir.
See you on a training ride soon.
See you next video. Done.